Good afternoon, everyone. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Southern California. My name is Roman Shersher, and we're #1 online resource for buying property. Today, I'd like to talk about two things. The first of which is personal property. When you're negotiating to buy a property, anything is up for negotiation. By law, the seller is required to leave everything that is affixed to the property. And that's by more than, let's say, a power cord. Now, uh, for example, a refrigerator is not a required inclusion in a property sale because you could just disconnect it with a power cord. Dishwasher, that's iffy. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on the state. But anything that is not affixed to the property that you see when you're walking through the property and that you really like, you can negotiate for it to be in the sale. Now, I want to give this a caveat. A lot of properties, especially renovations and new homes, they hire staging and stagers to stage the property to make it look lived in and to give it a better vision, better clarity for the buyers. This happens all the time. And so if you wanted something that a stager put into the house, that may be a little bit difficult driving through a tunnel here. That may be a little bit difficult to negotiate because it's not the seller who approves that. The seller's got to go back to the stager and negotiate that with the stager, find out how much they want for it. But most likely, if you really like some staging furniture, you'll still be able to buy that as well. But let's say there are other things there that the seller has. Let's say it's an actual seller that has lived there for years, and you like the furniture, you like the patio set, you like a special chandelier that they used, and you feel like it really goes with the home. You like paintings that they've hung in the home. I mean, literally anything. You like the china that they used. You can negotiate that in the sale. And when you're doing so, try to, in your mind, put a value of that furniture, a replacement value. Look online, find out how much it would cost for you to get a replacement. Of course, you're dealing with shipping, you're dealing with the purchase process. I know a lot of people that have bought a home and that it's literally taken them months to furnish it. So there is a certain value in having everything ready to go and move in, have it furnished and move in ready. So try to assign a replacement value and then give yourself an additional convenience value factor and use that as your number and work through that number. So for example, let's say it's a smaller home, a 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. The furniture, you want all the furniture included, and you think it's worth about $25,000. There's the added convenience of not having to drive to the stores, have it shipped, delivered, having to assemble that furniture. Everybody knows how difficult IKEA furniture is to assemble. Not to say that you would want IKEA furniture, just as an example, but assign it a certain convenience factor. So let's say you give it an extra $5,000 on top of the $25,000 for the convenience. You know you're dealing with about $30,000. So if the offer, let's say that you would have made is $500, you maybe want to make an offer of $520 that gives you a little value on your side and some negotiating room to include this. Now, sellers may outright reject this offer. They don't want to include their personal property. They need that personal property to go to their next home. Great. If that's the case, then you know you have that response and have that answer. But before you make an offer for the personal property, you might want to have your realtor request and ask if the other agent on the other side, the listing side, the seller directly, or the listing agent, if they would even entertain an offer like that. Anything is up for negotiation, but you don't want to rub the seller the wrong way. And so if you know that potentially you could be rubbing the seller the wrong way, the offer, no matter what the price, in the seller's mind, certain things are priceless for them. You want to just at least find out if they're willing to accept that offer. But the main thing I want you to take away from this is two things. Number one, assign a replacement value to the stuff that you want the seller to include, what you're asking the seller, the personal property you want them to include. Number two, add a convenience factor. There's a cost and a time savings. Time is money. And third, check to make sure that you're not going to offend the seller. Ask if it's going to be okay to make an offer like that. Okay. The second thing I wanted to discuss today, after personal property, is exiting a transaction too soon. So you're going to do your inspections. You're going to get the inspection report. Most first-time home buyers, and even people who purchased properties before, but maybe they purchased a townhouse or a newer construction property. If you're buying a home that was built 50 plus years ago, 30 plus years ago even, you're going to have a lot that's going to come in on your inspection report. A lot of issues and a lot of little stuff. But the list is going to be long, and the list itself can be overwhelming. All of a sudden, this beautiful home that you like, this newly renovated home, a newly renovated home does not mean that everything has been fixed in the home. A newly renovated home means that it's been upgraded, it's been renovated, and sometimes even the person that renovated the home, the rehabber, doesn't know of everything that happened in the home, especially if they didn't get an inspection beforehand. And so don't get overwhelmed by the list. You have to take that list and separate it into two parts. The first part is the small stuff, and the second list is going to be the expensive big items. What you really need to focus on are the expensive big items. You could have a list of 100 things. This electric outlet doesn't work. The carpet is pulling up in this section. Those are small things that you could have fixed. Of course, if the electric outlet isn't working and it's a bigger part of a bigger electrical problem, that's a different story. But small items, yes, they add up. But you could have a handyman come through and fix small items that don't require license. I always recommend getting licensed electricians, plumbers, anything systems related. Always work with someone licensed. But little things in the home can be fixed by a handyman in a day or two. So that list of 100, you can knock off 80 within 2 days with a handyman for $1,000. What you really want to focus on are the big ticket items. If you have a septic system in the home and the septic system is leaking into the front yard, backyard, wherever the septic system is located, that's potentially a big ticket item. You need to get that further inspected. If the roof is reaching its end of its usable life, that's a big ticket item. Focus on the big ticket items and really try to understand what the costs involved in that are. Understand that you don't need to exit a transaction because you see a long list. That too many buyers out there, they get very picky. They see a long list. It really discourages them. And all of a sudden they think that this is not the home for them, when really you need to focus on the big ticket items and negotiate those out. Don't exit a transaction simply because you have a long list. See if you can get the seller to cover a lot of the stuff in that list, because here's the key. Whatever you disclose in writing to a seller, that seller is required to disclose it to future buyers. Required by law. If not, they have a lack of disclosure, and that lack of disclosure could cause is grounds for a lawsuit by the buyer. The seller is required to disclose things that they know that will harm the value of a home, including issues with the home. And so they're required by law to tell you. So if you've provided them with a written estimate, a written inspection report that the roof is nearing its end, that the roof needs to be replaced, that seller will most likely need to disclose that to future buyers, which means that it'll affect a future buyer's decision to purchase as well, which will cost that seller money as well. So it's in the seller's best interest to negotiate with you. Don't just exit the transaction. Try to negotiate to get everything that you want, and then find out what's the most the seller will do, find out exactly what it's going to cost you, and then make your decision whether to exit or not. Once again, my name is Roman. I'm your #1 online resource for buying property. If I could help you further, reach out to me, info@housebuyingblueprint.com. Be glad to help, and hope to see you soon. We'll continue providing you with valuable information. Roman ShareShare, your #1 online resource for buying property. Take a look at our website, housebuyingblueprint.com. Have a great day.